Team, hello. We have another line warcast. Today, JPTUNA in red in the bottom left and Afina in blue in the center north of the map. This is a long awaited cast. The community's been itching for this one. I'm excited. I hope you are too. We'll see what we get up to. JP Tuna going for 3 barracks immediately and an airfield. We can check what they're building on that in a second. Afina going for 2 airfields. Looks like it's both helicopters on these airfields immediately. And I'm not quite sure what we're going to see out of JP Tuna. It looks like that's a striker. And I like strikers. I think strikers out of the airfields are one of the best things you can make. Like, they're very versatile. They're great at cleaning up ground units. Relatively easy to use, not that fragile. I say, of course, easy. That's debatable. You can use them in very risky ways, but enough about the strikers. Afina has going commandos with transport ships. So, like, the immediate goal of Afina right here will likely be to ferry these commandos over to this left island. I'd assume that's where they're going. We can kind of see their vision. This was a great encouragement in one of the YouTube comments from Basantos, who actually designed the game, to add, like, occasionally the view each player has, because there's fog of war in this game. So, of course, both players aren't getting the full picture right away. We can see where this transport ship is going to go. It might swing down to the south, but I'd imagine it would go over this little kind of water, whatever the heck channel we want to call it, lake thing, and drop the commandos off to the left, and we'll see if that's what turns out to be the case. Tuna going for a gas now with a dock. We can see what they're building out of this dock. It looks like it's this is a destroyer, maybe, sort of. We're not quite sure about the icons yet. And we totally lied. This is interceptors. JP Tune is going for interceptors. So interceptors are going to be really good if the opponent shows up with helicopters, strikers of their own. Ironically, I guess it could be kind of good against a transport ship, although you'd have to time this perfectly, because we can see JP Tuna doesn't even see that this transport ship is coming across yet. And we were wrong about the location of the commando landing. Afina's definitely sent it just straight down to the south here. So they're going to pick Afina's picking a great place to drop these commandos, because I don't even know, like, JP Tuna might see this right now. Tuna might see this right now. But, if you're up here kind of moving arrows and thinking about where you're going to go, there's a large chance that you don't actually see that drop. Like, it's very sneaky. There's not that many audio cues of it happening either. So Fina's going double helicopter after the first transport ship. I really like this. I think helicopters. I mean, I like strikers too, and I like the interceptors. The interceptors are gonna be really good, actually, to scout to detect these commandos. Commandos have a stealth bonus in this game, so unless you have a spotting unit like a submarine, an interceptor, there's other things too. Destroyers spot submarines in the ocean. Commandos can go unnoticed, and you actually can't shoot them. Like, I don't know if 2 infantry is enough to spot the commandos. So it's actually a great play for Tuna to go for interceptors, because they're able to see these commandos. Tuna's pulling quite a few infantry back, which, if there's another drop from Afina that goes in, that would be actually really good. But otherwise, I think between the boat, the planes, and then these 2 infantry, they should be able to clean this up. Afina's moving helicopters down south. This is going to be enormous for them if they're able to launch these helicopters across the water, finish off this dock. That could be big. Afina doesn't have a gas of their own, though. So that's something to note. I'd assume one of these 2 are going to be the gas that they choose. And there's a second transport ship. So there's going to be a lot of multitasking in this game. Both of these barracks are also making commandos, which is, that kind of shows the strategy that Afina's coming out with here. I don't think we're going to be able to keep running transport ships as Afina. Yes, we won't. This one will have to turn around. Afina's now getting their gas, and we can check a economy, sorry, economy, right now, real quick, 500 for Afina and 546 for Tuna. So Tuna's a little bit ahead, and we can kind of get an idea for like the development that each player will be thinking about. We're gonna go without the fog of war for now. Afina's going to this back, the right side of the map here, and down to the south. I think that is actually more. Well, that's it. It kind of it's up for debate where what part of the map has more land. You can decide for yourself if we're wrong. I think it's actually kind of even. We can look at the cities. Tuna has one right underneath their main base, and Afina has, what did we say? See, three? Yeah, so three different cities potentially. So I think Afina does have, in a lot of ways, like the better side of the map here. Afina's going to start working on these water territories. Of course, they will give you income. They're important to get if they're sitting there right in front of you. And if Afina control this southern little island, they're going to be able to build a dock in the back and get all of these, like these two oil spots and the few ocean territories there. So I think one of the things that we're going to see develop is whether Tuna can get across and start contesting this island. We can see what Afina's kind of feeling, you know, as they fly over here. They know, Afina knows that this is where Tuna's base is. At this point, they probably assume that Tuna's got to this north here. And as they're finding out, unfortunately, with this drop, oh my gosh, this is so unfortunate for Afina. It was like the perfect place to drop these commandos in the worst possible time. This one might get away. Just 10 infantry sprinting behind it. Never what you want to see. Helicopter-wise on the numbers, Afina's going to have quite a few in a bit. And we've seen the damage that a flock of helicopters can do if they're left to grow and then there's not enough anti-air from the opponent. So we can kind of zoom out here. Afina's gone for a second dock. I think this is a very smart play because the center water is going to be very important now that both players know where the other one is. We can check the economy. Afina's at 656 and Tuna's at 770. So Tuna's really starting to maybe not pull ahead, but they definitely are ahead right now. And Afina will need to come up with an idea of how to keep ecoing to make sure that they don't get stuck a little bit behind. I guess that's what I would be fearful of for Afina, because if Tuna can get some more economy, like they actually went for this industry. I think they already built it. Yeah, they already built this industry. So if they can finish this this city and start to build that would be huge for them. They've got an airstrip here, which is really good, so that the fighters and the planes that they've made on their airport can get off of the airport, because if the airport fills up with 5 planes, the airport will stop producing more planes, which is obviously not ideal. And I really like these interceptors. Like in hindsight, like interceptors are going to do a great job to kill this transport plane. Now, if this one didn't just like fly right by it and just say like whatever, I'm not going to shoot you down, that would have been a lot better. But if the interceptors can even kill one of these transport planes, because what you force Afina to do is either remake transport planes or, stop dropping commandos. And I'm wondering how scary these helicopters are going to be for Tuna, because if a big, swarm of helicopters showed up, I think they could actually take on these missile boats with their own, like between Afina's missile boats and the helicopters. I don't think the navy of Tuna would survive it. We can see the micro by both players to try to continuously move these circle commands to keep catching up with the missile boats. So APM intensive, and this is kind of what we're talking about, because if these helicopters get on these missile boats, it's going to be really bad for Tuna, because Tuna will also end up losing this dock. Rather, this submarine pen, which you don't want to lose that sort of investment. Afina's got 2 gases behind. We can kind of see what else is going on. They've almost got the entire back right side of the map. There's no economic development for them yet. and slowly they are making their way across the top with their infantry to see like just how far up the island Tuna's been able to get. We're missing a naval battle, which sort of does matter. One of the quickest ways we've seen games end or change momentum dramatically is when one player's navy just steamrolls the other, and then the person who won is able to push up, to the coast, kill the sub pens, the docks, whatever, and really establish that control. I do, in hindsight, really like these interceptors from Tuna. Not that I didn't like them, but they are a very, hard unit to use in a lot of ways, at least I've found. But they are very strong, and if they were here right now, this would be big. Although there's 5 almost missile ships for Afina now. And at this point, I think one of the things Tuna has to hope for is for these helicopters to run out of gas. Because this is a lot of helicopters. Quick economy check. JPTUNA almost at 1,000. Afina at 836. So Tuna's definitely leading here, economy-wise. And this North Island, Tuna's got 2 factories. One's already making SAMs. The other one's almost done, and a barracks. So production-wise, there's tons up here for Tuna. And there's not for Afina, right? Like, Afina's production is all kind of here. There's so many commandos. I really like that Afina has been going for the commando drops. And if they keep them up, maybe somehow able to get commandos down in the south. But even then, Tuna's done a good job to kind of keep garrisons of infantry all over this island. Like, where are you gonna feasibly drop commandos here? I guess here, but even then, these folks are, standing at this barracks. So moving the helicopters up north, I think that is a good play from Afina, because Afina doesn't know that there's, production up here. They can assume that there would be production, but until there is, and until they see SAMs, it would be great to push that advantage and use the planes, or rather the helicopters, to attack this infantry, because they're going to get great trades until SAMs show up. We can see that they're going to run, Afina's going to run out of gas by moving all these transport boats, or transport planes, and helicopters at the same time. Tuna's got their first sub. Look at that. I don't know if Afina can see it. So Afina's not able to see this sub yet. And I don't know if 3 transport planes is enough to be able to spot a sub. But if Afina has enough units around that sub, or a destroyer boat, which they don't have, but they might have enough boats, once they get to that kind of critical mass, they'll be able to see that sub. This is a great play from Afina, and I think they will be able to snipe this sub pen. It's just there's enough commandos here. These missile boats were a great idea, but not quite in position to be able to stop any of this. In the north, however, the helicopters have shown up, but the interceptors are here, and Afina's out of gas. So any fight that Afina gets in with the gas-powered vehicles, if the units are out of gas, they actually take a huge penalty to their armor, and their firepower maybe. Either way, if the helicopters, you can see they're kind of like making that smoke trail out of them. It means that they're out of gas, and so they're not able to pick up or take off. And boats, if boats are stuck in the water without gas, they don't fight nearly as well, which it could come into play because Tuna has gas. Tuna definitely has gas. I think over time, although Tuna lost his sub pen, this is going to be okay. They're not going to die to this. Be really sweet for Tuna if these 2 boats stop just like hanging out. Yep, this one's like drifting backwards. Yeah, this'll be fine. This looks really ugly, but it's gonna be okay. And this, we can see what Afina's view is. Afina can't see this sub yet. So Tuna does have a submarine here. This isn't enough boats. And there's also not a destroyer. So unfortunately for Afina, it might not even be obvious unless you hear it that a submarine's there. Now they can see the submarine because with these cruisers showing up and potentially even these transport planes, they're now able to scout it. We can see on the left side of the screen how good interceptors are against transport planes. I believe 2 will even go down. I mean, we can imagine an interceptor plane going against a transport jet. It's going to be pretty good for the plane. And this is really the best use Afina can make of these commandos. And these commandos are going to keep going in to try to snipe the rest of this infrastructure. This is actually quite exciting because I'm not sure if Tuna is going to be able to hold this navy. Because the interceptors are great for fighting things in the air, but unfortunately with this many boats, if Tuna can't hold here, it's going to really suck because they're going to lose that ocean. However, on the top side of the map, Tuna's backing up this the northern part of the left side with more barracks and more factories. There's some combination of SAMs and artillery. We know that already SAM is a very convergent composition in this game, and so in the north, I think Tuna's done a great job to push that advantage. We can check the income real quick. 1,100 for Tuna and 1,000 for Afina. So both players staying within within 100 of each other. Tuna, of course, on top since and has been since the beginning of the game. Afina with 2 cruisers and 2 missile boats. This I think is scary for Tuna, because if Afina can get up and kill this dock, it just is such a compromising position to lose like any navy control. And these commandos of Afina are really tasking the multi-task, I guess that's the sentence, of Tuna. However, these 4 factories are for sure dead, because I don't think these helicopters in the north, we kind of missed it, but they weren't able to be that effective. And now Tuna has SAMs up north, so the remaining helicopters aren't going to be able to do much. I really for Afina, I think the play would be to push this, but I guess maybe you don't want to actually push this and then end up losing your entire navy. We can see what Afina's view is right now, right? So this commander just hanging out in the back. We've got another commander down in the south here. This can do a lot of damage, but like we kind of talked about before, Tuna's done a great job of keeping infantry kind of garrisoned around the map so that they don't get owned by commandos. So this is the play we're talking about. Afina is going to finally push it. On the north, we still see that, yeah, Tuna is definitely doing fine here. This looks like a good blob. This is actually going to be kind of scary for Afina over time. Although this army has to go through the mountains, which takes a lot longer to get there, we can see on this tooltip in the bottom right that there's a unit speed penalty through the mountains. The same is true of forests. So although Tuna is going to have to go through the mountains and it's take a while, there's still not a lot up north that Afina has to defend. And that's why we're seeing Afina put down 4 more factories to kind of form this defense. Like, these helicopters are going to be able to hold for a little bit until those SAMs of Tuna show up. So this is where it gets kind of weird and scary, I think, for Tuna a little bit. I like this second airport. I think that is the play to make, because at this point you're not going to be able to make a safe dock. I say that as there's 2 docks in the bottom for Tuna, which is actually the absolute best place that Tuna could put these, because that's the only place that Afina's not going to want to even send the boats around, because it takes so much gas. And we can see, like, of course, like, Afina doesn't know that these are things. They have no idea. Afina's doing a great job to drop these commandos still. This is exactly the play to make. And I love these interceptors, but it's just situations like this where unfortunately they're not in the air. So they'll be able to launch in order to track the commandos at least and reveal them, but they're not going to be able to kill them as quickly as you probably would kind of want. This is a good amount of SAMs for Tuna, especially if Tuna keeps these SAMs kind of grouped. They're going to be able to kind of hop these SAMs forward, and this is going to be really scary for Afina, I think, over time. As long as these commandos get cleaned up, this is going to be a big battle, and I'm not actually sure how this is going to go, but we can see that Afina has tons of money. Afina has almost 1,100 income. And Tuna has 1,100 income. So Afina's really done a great job to catch up here. And Afina also has money. This is sweet. This is so baller by Tuna to build this factory here. I think that's huge. This is a lot of income. Like, this is a decent amount of income that Afina currently has. We can kind of see. I guess Afina doesn't actually have every territory here, but I still think this is a sizable chunk of income, and it also leads to this chunk of income, and this infantry of Afina's is going to be in a lot of trouble. So in the south, Afina is going to start recognizing that there are docks down in the south, We'll see if Afina is able to stop those from showing up. These commandos were, of course, able to get the barracks. So this is, of course, the question, and this is where it's really scary. And I wonder what's... yeah, so Tuna is building strikers now, which is definitely the play, because there's no real way these docks are going to be able to get a navy. Like, if it was, you know, I think it's a mistake from Afina for letting the docks show up, especially since they've already won this naval engagement. And with like 4 cruisers here already, we're gonna have to wait way longer than, you know, 1 cycle of boats for Tuna to be able to mount in defense. So we really do need these strikers to help out. Plus, strikers can help with these commandos, because if there's enough garrisons of units, the units will be able to see the commandos. And I'm now trying to get an idea of who's winning here, because I actually think both players are very close. This is Afina's airport, which was a good call to build that there. I think if you could get an airport up here with a bunch of strikers, you could start hitting the gas and whatever other vital infrastructure of Tunas that you would like. We can see how commandos, you know, trade against just a bunch of units while watching the Navy in the bottom. The north side of the map is about to start popping off, but I don't think this is going to get anything else. Like, Afina's probably... yeah, Afina's targeting this airport, so they might be able to get this. I mean, 3 tanks rolling in. That's still a good trade. If Afina can get this airport and was able to get 2 of these industries, or 1 of these industries, that's really big. And they're continuing to reinforce this with commandos. And there's still more commando. I mean, this is 3 barracks of commandos they're making. So, like, props to Tuna for even handling this multitask, because I think in general they've defended this pretty well. If these interceptors start getting lucky on these transport ships, that would be so big for Tuna, because that could change the game. I mean, there's like 4 transport ships that are out. There's a 5th one being made. That's quite expensive, though. And you can imagine if transport boats or transport ships aren't being used, then they're not being very cost efficient. But right now, Afina is multitasking and making them cost efficient. Afina is pushing that dock in the south. That's a good play. These commandos are kind of securing a beachhead on the, I guess, like main part of Tuna's island. And Afina's, we saw the first 4 factories. There's now 4 more in a barracks. So, you know, this is quite a decent amount of artillery support that's going to show up. And I'm really interested to see if Tuna can make this work, because if Tuna can kind of flank with some infantry, maybe this is kind of going to work, because over time, very slowly, Afina is going to be able to get way more artillery than Tuna is. These tanks are going to be a long way away. I wonder how well tanks do against commandos, because that could be why Tuna's going for it. And I'm really interested to see this island develop from Tuna, because, yeah, Tuna's also going to be able to get this income. So I think in a second, unless Afina starts ecoing, Tuna's going to have a better econ. Afina's at 1160 right now. Tuna's at 1170. But the whole time as we speak, Tuna's taking territory from Afina, not the other way around. This is not great for Tuna in the north, just because these helicopters are going to be able to keep pushing these infantry. And this is... Afina is definitely going to be able to push this back with this many factories. However, as we can see on the screen, and we haven't said it just to tease it a little bit, we don't watch these replays, so we don't actually know what happens. But there's a nuke, there's a missile pad being made by Tuna right here, and I love it. I think that is a great play. I think that's a very decent play, because we can kind of see what Tuna sees, and they see this massive thing of production, and they probably know they need to push into this, because this is where 2 cities of Afina are. The rest of their starting production, it's a very important spot to take. These tanks are doing fine against the commandos. They're body blocking them quite well. Tanks might be a sweet way to actually deal with commandos in a sense. I'm now thinking about this. Did Tuna just break the game? Did Tuna figure out tanks are good against commandos to kind of deal with this? I don't know. I'm interested to know why, but it worked in that instance. We have, of course, the 2 transport ships fighting a cruiser. That's not going to work. And we have the sub hanging out wisely in the bottom, not doing anything. This is coming under the control of Tuna. Same with this bottom right island. And the north is, of course, popping off. I mean, this is a huge amount of artillery that Afina will have here. Like, and I... Pushing into this from Tuna, I actually kind of do like, because if the whole point is that we've now built a nuke, and that nuke is very expensive, then all we need to do is hold this up enough that when we launch a nuke right here, it kills most of the, I mean, a bunch of the buildings and a lot of the army. And it's not like Tuna doesn't have production behind this. It's not like there's no reinforcements that are coming. It's just that they take a long time because they have to go through a mountain and they're super far away. I do like what Tuna was doing with the interceptors there. I think that was smart to kind of keep them flying, because at any point coming up here, Afina's maybe going to just send more commandos. Like, we can really see the power of like just a gazillion production units for Afina here, and this is a huge concave for them. All their artillery is firing. This nuke is going to take a few minutes to get up. Like, we can see what it's like. I mean, there's no... I don't even know if there's a nuke being built right now. I don't know if Tuna had the money to start it right away. These drops by Afina on this south island are not going to work, for sure. And plus, as these SAMs move into a better position, they're going to be able to take them out. Like, this is where interceptors are going to shine. In a situation where we have a transport ship, and Afina actually landed the helicopters, so that was really smart. I actually thought it was really smart, but I didn't realize that interceptors can shoot their missiles just at ground units. I mean, it makes sense. It's fine. I don't even know if they do all the damage that they usually do against air units, but... That's really good for Tuna. It's stuff like this that is just making, you know, like, this is so good for interceptors, because there's no SAMs or counter interceptors from Afina. Tuna's been able to clean up all the commandos on their side of the island. They still have these 4 tanks roaming around. This is a lot of planes for Tuna, and they have the gas to sustain it. Both players have the gas to sustain, but I don't think either player is ecoed either. We're kind of whipping the map around, I apologize. But this missile, this launch pad is actually in a lot of trouble for Tuna, because we have the bottom part of the rocket, which, I don't know, some people might say is the most important part of the rocket, but there's still like the middle third and the top third, and then plus like the little hat looking thing to put on it, and it's not going to be done in time. Even though all these units have to go through this mountain, and we know that the units going through the mountain have a speed delay, I don't think that the missile is going to be done in time. And even if it is, I mean, I guess there's a minimum distance on the rockets too, because you can't really drop them that close. But as long as a missile is able to drop on all this production, that would still be very good for Tuna if they can pull it off. Income check is very important as we watch this interceptor get rid of this transport plane. 1362 for Tuna and 1133 for Afina. So yeah, so we saw that, you know, over the last few minutes, as Tuna was able to collect all of this bottom right, and I hope they keep going on the far right side of this, and take this kind of southern little island thing away from Afina. They've been able to get quite an economy lead, and now they're going to push on 2 sides. And if they can, if Tuna's able to group enough here in the north, possibly get a nuke off, and then start pushing in the south to draw a lot of this production away from Afina, that would be huge, and I think could change the game. Afina's still making Navy. I like that. That's something that I would do. I always hate having a Navy advantage and then not make enough Navy, and then lose that Navy advantage. That's never what you want to do. Although Tuna's kind of doing a good job to not even care. They haven't launched any of these strikers yet. The strikers, I guess, are just staying at home against commandos. This nuke in the... Did we miss it? Oh my gosh. Every time we see an empty missile pad, I always think we missed the nuke. Yeah, this is a good play by Tuna to just dig in, because at this point, we're just buying time for this nuke. And this southern flank, Afina's going to be able to push this back. I mean, this is an enormous amount of production from Afina. Afina's also going for econ now, which is a good play. because Tuna's at 1400 economy and Afina's at 1100, and Afina's actually losing money per minute. So this becomes a really kind of frustrating situation to be in as a player, because you aren't able to kind of develop anything. We can see if Tuna's starting to take economy. They aren't. There's still one commando down here from Afina. It can actually do a lot of damage if a player is not paying attention. And here, we finally got the nuke ready for Tuna. So we'll see what the plan is. I don't know if Tuna can nuke this close, or missile this close, whatever we want to call it, but they certainly can get to here, I believe. Okay, we're only going big view for the next little bit because we can't miss this nuke. Because we always do. Okay, we see it. In the bottom, we can see the cruisers fighting. I think this is actually going as close as possible. And there we go. That's a big nuke. That is a... that was a very well-placed nuke. I mean, that got everything except for 2 artillery pieces and a SAM. And now Tuna has a huge numbers advantage. Afina's going to have to keep pushing to the north now. All this production has to go to the north again so that they don't get overrun. However, Afina is pushing down through the south and has an enormous numbers advantage. And there is no nuke for Tuna on this part of the map. What would actually be sweet for Tuna is maybe a dock and going across here. But that being said, this must feel very scary for Tuna. I mean, you can see what they see, which is just a massive artillery coming your way, right? So here we go, defensive line in the mountain. I think it's right that if Tuna's going to give up that factory and try to just, you know, cut their losses, regroup on the bottom, and keep pushing, because you don't want to lose this. It would be great to see Tuna eco, maybe, potentially, but this is great. They're super on top of just getting rid of these commandos. And that's where the strikers are so good, because they can cover a lot of the ground that the commandos are going to be going. Money-wise, Tuna is definitely still in front. 1169 nice for Afina, and 1410 for JPTUNA. So Tuna is like way ahead here, money-wise. So if they're able to hold this southern island, I think they're in a really good spot. Like, over time, they should be in a good spot. These commandos are a great play from Afina. I don't know if they're going to land into the best of situations, because there is potentially enough to deal with it here. Tuna's finally launching all these interceptors. I don't really know where those ones are going, but the northern ones are just going to... I mean, if they're able to get on some of these helicopters, that would be really big. And we can check both players' gas. Tuna has the gas to sustain. Afina does too. This northern battle is starting to heat up again. Although, again, this is like... We can count. What is this? 6, 8 or something factories. And Tuna hasn't really made any more production in the north. So I don't know how this is going to go. The Navy is going to get cleaned up, because at this point, like, Tuna's got enough boats. And this is all cruisers that are about to show up, and we know that cruisers don't do great against planes. This is a known fact. Helicopters, strikers, both things do great against cruisers. Cruisers are really solid against other boats, but in general, I mean, you make missile boats if you want to kill planes with boats. I actually like that Afina's kind of taking this coastal route with this artillery. There's no point to push through the mountains, especially if you may think that there, and we can see Afina knows that there is defensive positions in the mountains, and also in the open fields, your units move so much quicker, which is alone kind of worth it. I think this is still kind of good for Tuna. Afina's going to need to remake missile boats, and pretty much only missile boats, because 5 cruisers at this point, unless Tuna starts remaking docks, which Afina's kept a boat down here, but oh, this is great. Tuna is killing it with subs. 2 sub pens is actually a play from Tuna. I'm down. I'm down with this. This is all Tuna's, this bottom right, as we can see. So Tuna's getting a ton of income there, and we can check again. Tuna at 1420 and Afina at 1193. So it's not as big as we've seen differences be in the past, but it still is like a notable economy increase. And Tuna's going to be able to kill a lot of the Navy and potentially this other dock. Okay, not on this run, but Tuna will be able to clean that dock, and we can see how the strikers are doing over here, like against these boats. Like, look at how many airstrips Tuna has. They have 2 airports which have consistently been making planes, and now 4 airstrips. So wildly efficient from Tuna, the Air Force. And it's actually quite scary, because these planes can, I mean, as we can see, like, Afina's reinforcing here on the coast with SAMs, which is a really good play, because they'd like to keep this dock. Because you don't want to lose the Navy. As we've said before, you really don't want to lose your naval presence, especially when you had, you know, an advantage. Like, Tuna's now going to get a bunch of subs. And that could make it really awkward for Afina. We can see the huge benefit that having a gazillion factories has. There's no way that Tuna can compete with this. Like, they still know that this all exists, but it's just going to be hard to match that. This is a great play from Tuna, building an airstrip over on this right island. I'd assume a lot of the things that will be sent here are strikers and interceptors. And there's 5 SAMs in this group, which actually isn't that much, especially when every plane, or tons of the planes Tuna has, are able to come attack this. So with these strikers, Tuna might be able to stop this push, or at least slow it down a lot. And in the north, Tuna's also going up here. And so this is going to be a huge help, because there's no SAMs over here for Afina. So these are going to be great strikes for Tuna, and we'll see how effective that they can be. We'll focus on the bottom one. So we can see that we've got 2 of the strikers have gone down for Tuna. We'll probably lose a 3rd striker. However, after that, there's only going to be 1 SAM left. And so even if it doesn't work out this run, Tuna can come back and next time start chipping away at all this. It may take a while because the strikers will need to go back and refuel, but this is really softening it up for the next time. And if there's enough artillery that Tuna can kind of gather in this spot, they're probably going to be able to hold that. This has gone a lot better for Tuna, I think. There's been 1 SAM. I can't imagine it got 1 plane. Maybe it got 1 plane, but Tuna themselves have enough artillery here, or sorry, SAMs here, in case Afina started moving the helicopters up to the north again. And this is kind of close. These SAMs are on like haste command retreat move, which I love. I think that's something that I've seen more players do, and I think it's the right play with SAMs. Because SAMs, if you use them right, they're not going to get attacked by other units. Because they're going to be in big enough groups that they're able to shoot, you know, down whatever is thrown at them. Unless it's a ridiculous amount of stuff like we saw Tuna just do. This is a great play by Afina to kind of wedge themselves even deeper into this part of the land. Because I think that South Island is a big battle, and obviously this north is still going on. And Afina's now starting to get enough SAMs here. So holy cow, I don't know what's good. This is a very close game. Like, Tuna's subs are doing a fantastic job to get rid of this dock. And then what's funny is that Tuna's almost going to be able to get the naval advantage, because with these amount of subs are going to be able to kill all these boats. I think on the bottom side, Tuna is going to be able to hold. These interceptors are doing such a sweet job to get rid of these transport ships. And see, now there's no more SAMs. There's no more SAMs for Afina down here. So we can see just how effective strikers are if there's no SAMs that they have to shoot at. We're not even gonna check the north or those subs killing that dock. We're gonna watch this. This is what happens when you're able to overwhelm the SAMs that your opponent had. And so although on that first trip Tuna wasn't able to clear it out, now they definitely are. And now Afina doesn't have like a follow-up for this. There's no way that they're gonna be able to push the South Island to no fault of their own. We luckily are catching a nuke here again. We didn't miss it. Yeah, this is good again. It's like, So Tuna, unfortunately, one of their artillery pieces was in the crossfire there. But that was another huge nuke. I mean, like, cost efficiency, I don't know, you know, the math on exactly how much those units were worth, but I feel like it was probably at least pretty close. It could be worth it, or it just reset this kind of stalematey in Afina's favorite battle. Like, this is what it does open up, is that Tuna's able to send in strikers here and hopefully chip away at the production. Tuna's definitely going to be able to push this South Island. That's going to happen. Afina somehow has a helicopter in the bottom island? Is that real? Yeah, it's just stuck in the mountains. I don't know, I thought that's kind of behind enemy lines to say the least. 1277 income for Afina, 1396 for Tuna. So this is still in Tuna's favor. They have both their airports are now full of planes. They have 4 airstrips. There's a 5th on the main island that's going up, which this airstrip is here so that these planes can get off of their airport, so the airport can keep producing planes, I at least assume. Afina's gonna regroup and defend the production, and as long as Afina does defend this production, it's going to be very good for them. We can see any more economic development that's happening. I feel like it'd be sweet for Afina to take production, economy, but I also feel like this would be really scary because you know that your opponent is going to be has like a bunch of production down here. Like, we can see what their view is like. So there's a decent amount of production that Afina can see that exists. And Afina's about to lose the water, which is also very terrifying. And these subs, I think these subs are probably going to be able to clear up these boats anyway. We'll be able to see exactly when Afina is able to detect them. So this is enough boats. 4 cruisers and 2 missile boats is enough to see these subs. And now that the boats can see them, it'll be very difficult for the... I don't think this is enough subs to get rid of this many boats. But for science, we're going to watch this again. Because the north of this map is definitely just in a stalemate. So we can see the Afina lost 1 cruiser. Maybe a second one, but probably not. The north is heating up, although Afina does have the number of SAMs that will be able to stop this number of strikers. So this is, of course, some massive battle of attrition in the north of the map. This is where the strikers come in from Tuna. And this is going to be really good for Tuna. There's 1 missile boat, but the 1 missile boat's not going to be enough. It's probably going to get taken out right now, and it does. These SAMs are what's saving Afina right now. But even so, I mean, I think that was a pretty good trade for Tuna. And this is an enormous force. We're kind of watching, like, the fear that we can see, like, the view Afina would have of this. And if Tuna can group and push through this choke, it's going to be huge. Like, Afina doesn't have a missile pad of their own. There's no real... I mean, this is really good for Afina to be building that eco. But this northern city, they aren't able to develop because it's under pressure. Even this middle city of theirs is not going to be able to be developed because these strikers are all in range. And Tuna would definitely be able to strike at this very easily and quickly. No SAMs for Tuna here, which is kind of unfortunate, because the longer that Tuna hangs out here and doesn't have SAMs, the more value that these helicopters are going to be able to get. So at this point, they're going to have to, and we see that they are, they're going to have to move these SAMs up. I think. Because with 4 helicopters here, that's pretty sizable for Afina. In the north, this is exactly what we knew was happening, is that there is a battle of attrition that Afina is slowly winning. We'll have to wait to see when Tuna is able to get another nuke and send that off again for the 3rd time to push Afina back to her base so we can restart that process. This is an enormous battle now in the bottom. And in some sense, I think it's the bottom of the map that's going to matter more than the north. because this is going to take a while to push through. Afina has more production, so over time Afina will be able to push through it. But between the mountains and how much production Tuna has behind, it's still going to be decent for them, I think. This is a lot of artillery for Tuna. This one interceptor is just going Top Gun style. And it gets out. Are you kidding me? Did we see that interceptor just get out of there? This will... Tuna's going to be able to push this. I think Tuna has enough to deal with this. Especially if some SAMs get up into play. This is a great landing from Tuna because this is really not working. So units in a defensive, like an entrenchment like this, they get a 20% or 30% firepower increase and a 20% or 30% defense increase. Obviously it's one of the two and we might be switching them up, but it's a substantial, you know, amount of defense and firepower that these things get. And so flying the planes in isn't really going to work, but landing a bunch of stuff is. We can go big picture on this. I'm really interested to know the economies, but we're not going to open up the economy tab yet because then we'll have to change viewpoints. These subs are detected by these cruisers in the water there, but the cruisers aren't going to be able to attack their artillery anymore. These helicopters in the south are really doing a great job for Afina. Those have been huge, but this is just the one of the best landings that could happen. Like, Afina has enough if they're able to group up right now from all this production. Like, all of the production needs to kind of be focused on this, because this amount of infantry is going to be able to take out 2, even 3 of the buildings, which is going to start mattering up here, even though Afina has enough to keep pushing. There's no nuke being built for Tuna. I don't think they have the money for it. We can see both players are pretty strapped. 1432 income for Tuna and 1334 for Afina. So Afina is clawing back in this. Subs are big for Tuna though. Tuna can keep pushing with these subs, I think. They'll be able to be spotted by everything. At this point, there's enough around for Afina. This helicopter probably can even see them. Yes, it can. But I think 5 subs can probably snipe a dock. 6 subs, pardon me, can snipe a dock. These tanks were a great idea, although they're running into kind of like a defensive line like this. Tanks are generally like, if Tuna could get these tanks around this, it'd be huge. Yeah, see, these subs are going to be able to snipe this dock, which is really big. And this has been huge for Tuna because I think they actually got 3 production buildings. Income check again. Afina at 1334 and Tuna at 1444. So really, Tuna's led this entire game with about 100 in economy. I would love to see Tuna develop this econ. I think that would really be the play. We can hear a factory going down right here. I can understand, like, because this will help push the South Island. But money-wise, it could get scary. Okay, this looks cool. This is the first time that we've seen the using transport boats to move tanks. 1 tank per transport boat. The way the mechanic works is that tanks can't land unless you control that territory. As you can imagine, it'd probably be extraordinarily strong and, like, you know, unrealistic a little bit, I guess, if you were to land tanks on territory that you don't own. So this has really allowed Tuna to land these tanks. I don't know how effective these tanks are going to be running into already deployed artillery with helicopter support. If these SAMs can get closer to get rid of these helicopters, that would be huge. These strikers are going to be big for Tuna, although this is still just so much stuff for Afina. And it's a decent amount of SAMs. And I think this is the magical number of SAMs that actually make it not really worth it for Tuna, unless they kind of RNG their way out of this and get away with all the planes. Okay, that one goes down. That's a big arty SAM blob for Afina. And we know the best composition in the game is arty SAM, in a lot of ways. That's obviously, there's caveats to that, of course. I'm not making a blanket statement, but it is a very powerful combination to have, especially when there's no nuke in the tank for Tuna. And we can see, yeah, Afina's starting to econ behind this. And if Afina can get this economy up, I think that is going to start being the difference in this game. Sneaky little barracks from Afina, I like that play. Really open up that multitask. You probably cap a bunch of this territory if Tuna wasn't on top of it and had infantry down there already. We really need to income check. 1480 for Tuna, 1306 for Afina. But if Afina can start getting up this city, that's huge. Potentially even taking out this missile pad and then developing these cities in the north. If they're able to do both of that, that is so big. So big. This one barracks is going to get cleaned up if Tuna controls that right. And I think they will. We can see that Tuna's going for a huge Air Force maneuver, I guess, and we can see what the command is. Part of me there is just to target this one industry. And I'm not sure, we can't see in the replay mode exactly how far these airfields can go, but they can start to hit this production. They definitely can. In the south, Afina's going to be able to win that push, and in the north, I think Afina's going to be able to win this push. And with the city, if Afina builds some anti-air here, some SAMs, I think that with the econ, Afina's going to be able to take this game. This great expedition from the commandos, I think, is a really smart move. It's not going to work in this case because there are a bunch of reinforcements for Tuna waiting for them. I like how there's interceptors kind of just patrolling the coast. This is exactly what interceptors kind of are good at, is shooting down planes, of course. And so when you just have transport planes flying in the open, over time, if they can shoot down, like this one not quite dying is actually awful for Tuna. But, you know, that one transport plane that got shot down actually had commandos in it too. So there's that aspect to the trade. The north is really doomed for Tuna. They're building more factories, which I agree with, because that's kind of the play. You have to build factories at this point, I think, to be able to stop this. But Tuna did a great job to take out those factories themselves. And hopefully they'll be able to take out this transport plane, and they are, for sure. I'm gonna be shocked if they don't. Oh my gosh. Are you kidding me? That's that pilot needs new pants. I mean, of course. This is this has gotta look so cool with this many strikers. But there are 11 SAMs here now. So earlier when we said overpowering SAMs with this amount of strikers, there's only about 4 or 5 SAMs, but now there's quite a few more. I think this will still be fine for Tuna though. Like, this is a lot of strikers, and strikers are decent against SAMs. So I'm trying to look at every plane to see if it's shot down. I don't even think we've lost one yet, maybe, though. Yeah, that was actually good for Tuna. One striker got shot down that whole time. Maybe 2. Yeah, the helicopters at the top of that shot were able to get a second striker. There's a lot of SAMs for Tuna here. And SAMs do very good against helicopters, but because there's so many helicopters... No, Afina's landing the helicopters. That's the right play. I think that's the right play to make. Missile pad from Tuna is taken out in the north. That's very tough for them. Because losing that kind of nuke in the top, like in the north, it just allows Afina to kind of breathe so much easier. And now there's definitely a numbers advantage for Afina up there. There's no chance that they're going to be nuked or the production's going to be nuked. And I feel like this is going to be the turning point because Tuna's at 1528 income and Afina's only at 1314. I feel like yes, Afina's got this industry too. So slowly Afina is starting to eco. This is the stalemate in the north is definitely broke. In the south, Afina is. It looks like Afina's being pushed back, although I think if Afina groups here, it'll still be fine. In the bottom right, we can see, yes, so this barracks was taken out. Afina has 3 commandos that are super behind enemy lines. And I still just don't, I don't understand how Tuna's gonna be able to deal with this. Well, maybe I'm lying, because there's so many airfields. Tuna has so much air. Because if these SAMs of Afina get out of position, Tuna's going to be able to take out a lot of this artillery. Like, if Tuna launches, what is this? Like, 16 strikers at that big artillery blob in the north, Tuna's going to be able to win that trade. Well, I didn't realize commandos made that noise. Did anyone else hear that? Holy cow, I'm scarred. Those commandos are definitely getting cleared up over there. And maybe with the air support, Tuna's going to be able to take that northern fight. They have the subs to deny all of the docks that Afina could possibly build. They have this entire part of the map, except for, you know, these 2 squares, which Tuna is about to get. So Tuna knows that there are no docks in play for Afina. This is so good. Just swarms of helicopters. Like, without any SAMs or interceptors, we can see the power of helicopters. Of course, we can see the power of strikers in the north, too. So 2 industry buildings for Afina going down, and also a factory, because in a hilarious amount of missiles just hit that thing. Hilarious is the adjective we're going to use. These helicopters are in trouble now, because these SAMs are going to start launching surface-to-air missiles at landed helicopters. Which, if they do a lot of damage in the air, just think what they could do on the ground. This is not good. Yeah, Afina's doing the right play by pulling those helicopters back. It's absolutely wild. This is really well played by both players, because you can see in like moments like that, just like the situational awareness for Afina, given everything that's going on the map, to understand, okay, helicopters are getting shot by SAMs, we can retreat those. Because a lot of players, you know, myself included, just... helicopters go down on the ground, and then you forget about them, you go back, there's like 10 enemy SAMs around your helicopters, and your helicopters are all dead. Because it's hard to pay attention. This is what the multitasking, feat of strength, which is line war, this is what it entails. Afina's super out of money. 1234 income. Tuna's at 1550. And I think Tuna's going to take this game. I think... as much as this looks weird in the north, that Tuna with all the air support, they're going to be able to take this out. Because I'd imagine that Afina's starting to feel quite, like, uncomfortable. It's never fun to play a game where you don't have good income. I say as Afina's making 1 a minute. It's not like Tuna's making much more. But of course, to Afina, they might think that, like, Tuna has more of the map. And if this fizzles out in the north, I think that's about it. This landing by Afina is great by the commandos. This is exactly what needs to be done in this situation to kind of break out of this kind of contain and to open up this like second front. But 3,800 strikers and interceptors are going to end that very quickly. These interceptors are still kind of trolling around waiting for transport planes, which I love. We've seen Afina use transport planes all game long to great effect. Having these just continuously run around is a great call. And this is a lot of SAMs for Tuna. So when Tuna moves these into position... I mean, it's a lot of helicopters, though, from Afina. I don't even know who this is better for. So we're just watching with, like, a really... perplexed look on our face. I mean, these helicopters are popping, but they also did, like, that was a decent amount of damage to artillery. I don't know who that's better for. Helicopters fighting interceptors is funny to watch, but they're actually pretty decent at it. Yeah, no, that's really good for Tuna. That was a lot of helicopters that went down. Thankfully for Afina now, there's like enough of the artillery died down here that Afina's artillery is going to be able to make a shot of it. This is still really good for Afina in the north. I'm just waiting for the moment that Tuna launches everything up north. Tuna's at almost 1,600 income. Afina is at just over 1,200. Yeah, did we say make a boat here and then go across? Did we not say that earlier? We want that on record. Because I think that's exactly what Tuna's about to do. Like, Afina has a good amount of helicopters. But Tuna does have a good amount of SAMs, and I think at this point, Tuna's gonna just be able to... I don't know. So, well, welcome to the Landmark Cast, where we're an hour and 1 minute into this game, and I think Tuna wins, or is going to win. But I guess it could depend. Like, if Afina was able to stop all of this and push down at all down this island, I think they're gonna win the game. Because this north looks really good. The only things that are left here are SAMs for Tuna. So Tuna's gonna lose all of this production. And this is the moment that we were talking about. Okay, so we now have 6 airfields or something. I don't think this back airstrip, rather, is able to get all the way up north. We can see that Tuna was making bombers on one of those airfields at this point. We're gonna see if all those SAMs can do anything against all these strikers. And I think it's a decent amount of SAMs. Because there's even more to the right of the screen that are coming in and able to fire at this. And that's a lot of artillery. We saw on that little middle island that idea of like the first sortie is to get rid of all the SAMs at a bad trade, and then the second sortie you're able to clear all of the artillery, and I think that's what's kind of going to happen this time, because there's still a lot of planes for Tuna, and this push is going to work for them over time. And I think with their better economy, Tuna's going to be able to take this game. Still not all the economic development, but it's not gonna matter. Tuna has more land. Yeah, because these boats are really gonna open it up. And like these infantry are gonna be able to get on this oil refinery and this town, because Afina can't pull any of these units over to the right. I applaud Afina for going for the heavy commando style, and we could see moments there where the commandos were really running Tuna around. But although this northern push is working, and we'll be able to push, you know, a decent way down the island, I think this is over. Holy boats! So we end the game with Tuna having the water control, pushing up this middle. These helicopters aren't going to be able to do much because of the SAMs. And this many interceptors and strikers, even with the reinforcing helicopters, was actually a baller move by Afina. I don't think it's gonna work. That's just what a critical mass of air does. And that's the last SAM that goes down. There's still one more SAM in the top left corner. But with this many airplanes, and these airplanes are all in range, like, and they're gonna be in range no matter where this entire army of Afinas goes. And there's more planes here. Like, this is just a ridiculous amount of planes. What is the gas consumption? Yeah. Tuna's got 3 or 4 refineries, and they've saved up gas, and they have a depot. So there's plenty of gas for Tuna to do this. These bombers are going directly over these SAMs, which over time isn't going to really work out, but Tuna's already on the land back here. Yeah, well played by both players. What a game. GG. This is probably the same plane we saw earlier that almost got shot down and still just hanging out. That bomber on the top, that didn't. Yeah, see, over time that didn't work out, but it's okay. Tuna for sure has this with the 2 airbase, 30 airfield thing, or I guess it's 3 airbase and a bunch of airstrips. Yeah, anyway, GG. Well played. We don't see, of course, who won the game, but I assume Afina tapped out. Uh, Tuna has more income, but very well played. It was great to watch. I think we saw a lot of the things that Line War has to offer. Thank you for watching and tuning in. There's I stream Line War on Twitch. Other folks do too. So head over there and check out the category and come in and say hello. The Line War Discord. Please feel free to come say hello in there as well. And there's a Q2 2022 tournament that is happening this weekend, June 18th and 19th. So watch out for matches. And if you're interested, again, hit up the Line War Discord. Thank you very much. Have a great day, evening, night, whatever it is for you. Peace.